Hello, this is a recap of an American movie called Adequacy. The premise of the movie is set in the year 2005. At the beginning of the movie, it's narrated that human evolution is at a turning point. Most science fiction series predict that the future of human is going to be advanced, with smarter people. But because humans are already on the top of the food chain, their evolution takes a turn for the worse. People grow dumber with time. In such conditions, the US Army Librarian Corporal Joe is approached by his seniors proposing him to be a part of an important experiment. Joe, who had planned to stay a librarian till retirement, is annoyed, but he has to follow the orders. Then we are taken to a private meeting between some high-ranking military officials. Junior Collins presents his idea to the other officer. He says that the scientists have invented a human hibernation pod that can preserve human beings for an indefinite amount of time. It is so human can preserve their funniest man at their prime and revive them in the time of need. They have chosen Joe to be the first test experiment because he is the most average man in the military and has no immediate family. Similarly, they also required a woman for the experiment, but they didn't have a perfect fit in the military. Then Colin chooses a prostitute named Rita. He shows the officer a picture of him and Rita's manager upguard partying together, making everyone in the room uncomfortable. He ends the presentation by saying that the subject will be put into the boat tomorrow and the experiment will go on for a year. Since the experiment is highly classified, the officials present in the room aren't allowed to share the information with anyone. The next day, Joe and Rita are together in a waiting room. Joe introduces himself and asks Rita what skater she's from, not wanting to reveal that she is prostitute. Rita says that she is a painter. Then both of them are put on IV and into two humans' hibernation pods. Rita freaks out and tries getting up, but Joe assures her the scientists know what they are doing. He tells her they will only be inside for a year, so it will be perfectly fine. At last, the two are sealed inside the pod. However, things start to go wrong when Officer Collins is arrested in attempted prostitution ring. Along with him, Upguard is also arrested for being the ringmaster of prostitution ring. Then, now no one is there to look after the hibernation pods. Because of a scandal, the military base is closed and the building the pods are in is demolished. Joe and Rita lay dormant in the pods as the year passes. Although things look bad for the two, they are even worse for mankind. Humans being to evolve stupider at the frightening rate. The chart of average intelligence goes downhill with time. Some people have high hopes that genetic engineering and science will be able to correct this trend of evolution, but the smartest scientists in the world are focusing on stupid experiments like trying to reverse hair loss or blurring erection. In the meantime, the population explodes and the intelligence continues to decline until the year 2504. All this year, people aren't able to solve basic human problems like garbage disposal. So the garbage has been stacked for centuries with no plan whatsoever. This creates the Great Garbage Avalanche of 2505. And one day, a massive garbage landslide causes Joe's hibernation pod to end up in a random house. Joe gets out of the pod dizzy and confused. The person in the house is named Frito Bandejo. Frito completely ignores the pile of garbage and the stranger in his house and to continue watching weird shows on TV. He only gets up to ask Joe to not make a noise. We see that his couch also has a toilet so he wouldn't have to get up time and game. He then kicks Joe out of the window. The outside world seems confusing to Joe and he says to himself so much has changed in just a year, but he doesn't know he has entered the year 2405. He sees a group of people by the side of the road who talk in a slang and grunts. Joe is able to understand them, but when he speaks like his normal self, they call him slurs and chase him away. A confused Joe also feels dizzy, so he decided to go a nearby hospital. There he goes to the reception and tells her he is from the army. The woman doesn't understand anything and just presses one of many buttons in her desk. A voice asks Joe to proceed to the diagnostic area on the right. Confused, he goes to drink some water from a water fountain, but it supplies an energy drink called the Brando instead of water. When Joe asks a bystander where he can drink water, the man laughs at Joe for wanting to to drink something they use in toilets. It reveals that everyone in the world uses Brawando to pass, drink, and for daily activities, while water is only used in toilets. Then he goes to the diagnostic area where he has to put the plugs into his mouth, ear, and anus. The health professional mismatches the plugs that he already put into specific areas. A disgusted Joe completes the procedure and it's sent to the doctor. While waiting, he sees the date 2505 written on a magazine, but dismiss it as a misprint. The doctor arrives and answers all of Joe's questions about his health with kick ass. He also declares Joe retarded and asks him to buy a fare of $5 billion. Just then, Joe notices 2505 written on the bill. He finally realizes that he has actually been inside the pot for 500 years. Joe almost doesn't believe it and goes to the window only to be surprised to see the certain condition of the city. Buildings are collapsing into each other and some are held together by ropes. In addition, the city is filled with garbage. Meanwhile, the doctor freaks out because Joe doesn't have a citizen tattoo in his wrist. Joe panics and runs away from the hospital, while the doctor calls the police on him for not paying his hospital bills. A voice narrates that Joe has woken up to a world crisis. The economy is in deep neglect. A great dust bowl has revealed all food supplies, and the #1 movie in the country is called Ass. He goes to watch the movies that win Oscars only to stare at someone's behind for 90 straight minutes. At night, he is arrested for being unscannable and taken to a court. There, he is given a lawyer who happens to be Fredo Bandeo, the guy that Joe met the first in 2505. Fredo makes fun of him as everyone in the court laughs. Joe presents his case sensibly and explains why he is unscannable, but the lawyer and judge just laugh at him. At last, the judge declares him guilty and sentences him to jail. Meanwhile, Rita also comes out of the boat and is trying to contact her manager and boyfriend, Upgrade. She's unsuccessful as the phone asks her for $2,000 to contact him. Just then, she is approached by a man who she tricks and gets his money. At the same time, Joe is taken to an automated tattoo place where the citizens are given the identification tattoo that makes them scannable. The machine asks him his name, but Joe starts to explain that he is not sure what is going on. Because of this, the machine reads his name as not sure and tattoos it in his wrist. The people around him also start calling him not sure. Then he is taken to an aptitude and IQ test and asking questions about basic addition. Joe answers all of them correctly and is surprised to see people around him not being able to identify shapes. After that, he is taken to the prison. He finally begins to realize that everyone in the certain world is stupid, so he tells the guard he is supposed to get out of jail today. The stupid guard let him walk away, but the alarms catch that an inmate has run away and the police chase him down the streets. Joe somehow gets away from them and goes to the YouTube place again. He believes that someone has created a time machine within the past 500 years and asks Fredo's help in getting one. Fredo doesn't agree on helping Joe, but Joe tricks him by saying that he would give him $8 billion for his help. Eventually, Fredo reveals that he knows where the time machine is. Just then, the police knock on the door looking for Joe. The two run away through the window and drive to the museum. On their way, they meet Rita, who's still scamming the same guy. Rita gets in the car and is worried that Upgrade will come looking for the money she owes him, still oblivious that he is already dead. As they drive, something from outside the car scans Joe's wrist and the police are notified of his location. The car's battery runs out and they get out of it. Right after, the police approach the car and fire at it. Soon, a bunch of people join and start to fight. Joe, Fredo, and Rita run away in hopes of getting to the time machine. Joe then takes the two to Casco, which is now the center of all threats. He even claims to have studied law in Casco. As they wait for the metro, Rita goes to the bathroom. Before she returns, Joe's wrist is accidentally scanned and the white place is alert of a criminal's presence. The metro arrives and Fredo gets on it, but Joe waits for Rita only to be caught by the police. However, this time he is taken to the White House instead of prison. There, a confused Joe meets the president Camacho and his secretaries. Camacho make fun of him, saying that that he thought Joe's head would be bigger because he is smart. It turned out that the IQ test Joe took in the prison surprised everyone because he had the highest IQ they had ever seen. So, because of his intelligence, the president makes Joe the new Secretary of Interior. To Joe's surprise, they also declared him the smartest man in the world. Everyone then goes to the House of Representatives, where the president announced that the problems of food, security, and dust storm will be solved by their new Secretary of Interior, Mr. Sure. He also promised to pardon Joe's prison time if he solves the problem. After that, a cabinet meeting is held where the secretaries ask Joe to say something smart. Joe says something random, complicated word, making them believe that he is in fact smart. Then Joe asks Fredio to draw a map of the location of the time machine until he distracts the secretaries. Later, he takes them to field where crops are supposed to be growing. He also asks them to get Rita because she might be able to help them with the crops. Now, everyone is a field where Fredio secretly hands Joe the map. At the same time, Rita arrives there. Joe takes her aside, planning to run away using the map, but his plan fails when he sees that Fredio map is just a line. Then Joe realizes that people have been watering the crops with the energy drink Brando. He holds a cabinet meeting to start using water instead of Brando. The secretaries think his idea is atrocious, so instead of reasoning with them, he simply tells them that he can talk to the plants and they want water. Joe isn't knowing that the energy drink had caused salt to devolve over topsoil, which killed plants and caused them dust storms, so he's actually solving their problem. For a few days, everything goes as planned, but soon the energy drink Brando stocks drop to zero because of the discrete production. This leaves half of the population employed. They riot outside the White House. The news announced that Joe is taken to court to making people employed and is proven to be guilty. He is sentenced to one night in rehabilitation. In the new world, rehabilitation is when a criminal is chased by a large truck in an arena as a crowd of audience cheers for the truck. The rehabilitation mostly ends with the criminal's death. Joe is taken to the arena while Rita sadly returns to the White House, ready to go to the time machine with the rehabilitation is broadcast on national television. Joe chased by a massive killing truck as he drives around in a small car. Just then Rita notices a rose plant growing outside. She realizes that Joe's idea to water the plant had worked and asks Fredio to take her to the arena. She plans to broadcast the crops on the television so Joe's punishment would be pardoned. Meanwhile, Joe is still trying to save his life from the death truck. Rita reaches there on time and preps a cameraman to go with Fredio and film the growing crops. She then goes to the monitoring room and takes over the control panel. Fredio finally gets to the field and films the crops. The clip is broadcasted on the large screen. Seeing this, President Camacho saved Joe from being killed and pardoned his punishment, making the crowd earbuds and cheers. Now, everyone is at a fraud party in the White House. Rita reveals that she doesn't want to return home because she likes the future better. Joe is surprised but doesn't force her to come with him. The two say their last goodbye, but before Joe leaves, the president calls him on the stage and declares him the new vice president. Everyone looks at Joe with hopeful eyes, making him agree to stay in 2505. Then one person calls the time machine a stupid ride. Fredio takes a confused Joe to the machine and it's finally revealed that the time machine is actually a children's ride. The scene cuts a few months later when Joe is elected as the president of the United States and Rita becomes his wife and the first lady. Under his leadership, a new era dawned and people hoped that humans could once again be smart. He even has 3 kids with Rita, who are said to be smarter kids in the world. I hope you liked the video. Please don't forget to subscribe.